Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm the mother of one 7-year-old child, referred to as the kid for the purposes of this podcast. My hobbies include talking trash, having anxiety, and thrifting.
Hi, my name is Hannah. We're a family of 4. My kids are 2 and 4, almost 5. I'll call them L and R, and in my spare time I enjoy talking, trash TV, and long walks on the beach. Just kidding. But we are a family that loves beach days.
Hi, I'm Brandon, father of 3 under 5. I will be referring to them as Michelle, Rose, and Junior. I went to film school, and now I do a podcast. Isn't life funny? Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the Stay-at-Homes. I'm Lucy.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Hannah.
And this week, our kids went back to school.
Woo!
Insert sound of champagne bottle at a respectable hour.
What time do your kids go to school, Brandon? Because mine, well, it's not that early, actually.
We won't disclose that. Yeah. Well, yours goes. He goes to school. What time does it start?
9. So earlier when Hannah was like, we want to talk about the difference between daycare and school, and I'm like, it's the hours.
Yeah, that's the beauty of daycare, or just any type of after school program, or before and after school program that you get to throw the kids into. Not literally throw them into, but you get to.
I just open the door and they just get put in. No, I'm just kidding.
Is that how your drop off works? They just open up.
We just shuffle them in. Yeah.
Oh, I was imagining something like when you drop off books at the library. And
It's just a slot.
you just close.
All right, arms up.
I was imagining that you open the door and they just walk out into the wilderness.
Into the wilderness.
Yeah.
It's not forest school anymore.
Come back when the streetlights turn on, kids.
The kid goes to Narnia. You open the door and it's just disappears.
Comes back and doesn't have a backpack, and
Got,
shorts are all
dirt all over his face.
Yeah. Did you win? Oh, I won. Say, all right. Oh, all right. Well, this is all right. So he's learning something. He's got something. She's got something going on.
So I took the kid to school yesterday. First day back after the summer. And it was fine. A little bit nervous, but he saw his friends that he hadn't seen all summer. Took some extra hugs, took a few extra minutes, but then he went in, which is a big deal because we spent a lot of time perfecting the drop-off for him.
And what grade is he?
He is in grade 2. Yep. Less playtime now.
Oh,
it's like
is
the
that
real learning?
It gets serious in grade 2?
No, it's just like I feel like in kindergarten, it's like there's like no desks. And then like grade 1, everybody had a desk, but there was also like a carpet and like maybe like a rocking chair.
Oh.
Grade 2, it's like now we're going to really learn.
It's like serious business now. Like you're going to work.
Yep.
You're not going to school. No. Like this is work now.
Hannah, how did drop off go for you?
So I did not have a drop off, not yet. So we do graduated kindergarten days. And so he actually doesn't have his first day until Monday. Today was the kind of like a meet and greet. They call it a conference, and it went really well. And she was absolutely lovely, and then showed where to put his shoes and where his cubby's going to be and his hooks and all the toys and the tables, and just got to show him around, and he was very excited. And yeah, and where the school bus is going to go, because he gets to take a school bus. Because here where I live, we do half days. So kindergarten is graduated start, so he has every other day starting next week for a couple days, and then he has half days, so he's the afternoon class. So it's like such weird times here. It's like 12:47 until 3:31. Like it's the most ridiculous times. There's no exact times. It's so random. And then he'll get dropped off at daycare, where I get to pick up both my kids at the same time, which is lovely.
Oh, that's really nice. Is R excited about the bus, or is he nervous about
the bus? So excited. Oh my gosh. Like last year he took a school bus for the first time ever, and they were going to this place called Tinkertown, which was like a little amusement park. And the highlight of the entire trip, like there's all these rides and treats and all this stuff. And like he came home and was like, Mom and Dad, I rode a school bus and there were no seat belts. Like it was mind blowing to him. He had never not worn a seatbelt, and he was like so excited about that. So yeah, he's got no worries about the school bus, and yeah, so we'll see how our first day actually goes. But yeah, Brandon, you have had some drop-offs. How's it been?
Yeah, I've had 2 drop-offs. We are a family that is notorious for terrible drop-offs. The way that the school / daycare works is they've got it's like a gated outside yard that they all get to play in before they go in. So there's a gate that opens up that teachers are at that can receive the kids, and then they get to play outside. Depends on how much we get our act together in the morning. Sometimes it's like 5 minutes is like all they get, but it is a handoff for a lot of reasons, because the twins, Rose and Junior, who are almost 2, they have had experience doing drop-offs just at the tail end of the last school year, and they did a couple of weeks at camp during the summer, and they've slowly gotten better at it, and now they're at a point where it's okay, but at the beginning, we had to just hand over a crying toddler to a teacher, and they would just, now they just walk right in. Rose and Junior just walk right in, and they're just like, hey, and they just they see their friends, and it's a lot of fun.
We're here to party.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And sorry, I just wanted to interject for just one quick second, because you very quickly touched on it. So my eldest R and your eldest Michelle are the same age. They're only 4 days apart. It's just very different for both of us, because mine is going to public school in a different province. And so we have half-day kindergarten here, but your 3 are all in a Montessori school. So it's very different, just experiences of our first days.
Yeah, mine is public. Mine goes to public school. So very different experiences all around.
And so how did the kid do with feelings? Was he
gets really nervous and anxious about it, especially new grade, new teacher, new all that. But he was really good, and we struggled for he's an anxious kid to begin with, and we struggled a lot with drop off. Big feelings at drop off. Everything would be fine until you get to that gate, and we are not allowed in the schoolyard. It's the gate is much like Brandon, the gate is that dividing line. Unless you ask and your kid's having a really hard time, you're not allowed. So it takes a lot.
Do you find that the drop-offs got better because he just has more friends? He just knows people more? It's tough when they're 3 to really have
concrete
a
friends.
Friend. Yeah, just someone that they're just oh, I can't wait to go and see this person. I think it was around 3, maybe 4 years old when Michelle really had a couple of friends that she was excited to go and see at school. She still would have a terrible drop off, and she still didn't want to leave us because apparently she just wants to stay home.
I totally get that though. Why would a kid who has a happy life at home want to go to school?
Completely understand that, and that's it's a nice compliment, is just oh, she wants to, it's because she likes being at home so much. My counter to that is because I want you to go to school, you need to go to school, please get out of my house. But it's not but I understand that.
And I really find for R, he's very much in the moment. So we went through a really long period of really, really hard drop-offs, and he was always a fantastic drop-off kid, super great. But I find that he's a very in-the-moment kid, and he doesn't want to be interrupted. And I get that. But when you're getting ready in the morning and you have a timeline, we need to get you to daycare or school, and he didn't want to stop what he was doing at home to have to go elsewhere. And he would remember okay, well, in his brain, I'm doing all these fun things at home. I don't want to be at daycare. But then once he was there, we had a really challenging drop off. And I talked to his teachers about it, and they said his hard drop offs last 2 minutes. Once he's there and realizes, right, I can also have fun here. But it's hard for him to remember that when he's having fun in the moment at home, or is wanting to do in that moment. And I find a lot of kids are very much in the moment.
Yes.
And knowing that we both parents are at home because I'm at home and Daddy works at home, that there is to him an option of him being there. Brandon and I have kids that are under the age of 5. So you've experienced it up until your kid is now 7. Do you see a different, what does a challenging drop off look like for a 7-year-old? Because you've seen what it looks like for a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old, 3-year-old. There's a lot of tears at that age? Is it still tears when they're 7? What does a challenging drop off look like?
Dropping him off at like a grandparent's house used to be just as difficult as school, but now it's kind of like, oh, I don't want you to go. It's a little bit more like, instead of like full on meltdown, it's more like weepy and like, oh, I'm gonna miss you, that kind of thing, rather
a little
than
bit
like,
more verbal.
Yeah, and I think that is the biggest difference, is he's just got a more, like, as they get older, they just have that more developed brain and like a better grasp on logic and reasoning. Like, when you drop a younger kid off at school, they can't think far enough ahead to think like, oh, you're going to come back.
Right.
Oh, you're going to pick me up at the end of the day. They just know that in that moment they're upset about it and that they're going to miss you, or like maybe even not even miss you. Because I don't even I don't even know. I'm not a psychologist.
But they can
definitely miss you.
They can miss you. They tell their teachers that Michelle has told her teachers that like she misses us. Not lately, and again, not since like her siblings have now started to go to school with her, which leads me to believe that she does have favorites in this house, and it's not the mother and the father,
and it's not you.
Yeah, it's not me, and it's not Melissa. But it's they do miss you.
And for me, like, my kids are super sensitive. I have very sensitive kids in the most wonderfully amazing way, and for us, I think it kind of makes all of us feel a little bit better. Is that, you know, when my kids are having those hard times, I sit down with them and I talk them through it first, you know, like, I want you to know you're safe here. I love you. Daddy loves you. I'm going to be back later at the end of the day to pick you up. This is where you're going to be today. I'm going to pick you up, and then we can have home time. But
does that work?
If he's going to have a hard time anyway, I think it can feel good to just hear those words that you're safe, I love you, I'm going to pick you up at the end of the day. And I can't really know for sure if it works, because I can't know exactly how he's feeling. I can see that he's upset, but if he's going to be upset anyway, I'd rather make sure that he knows, you know, like, because I feel like sometimes they just need those words to hear, you know, like, I love you, you're safe, this is what's happening, I will be back, and then we'll do it all again tomorrow.
Because, like, I would say things, not those exact words, but like similar things to the kid when I was dropping him off, and he was like so deep down into that emotion and those feelings that like it didn't matter what I said. I could say like, there's a dinosaur over there, or like, I love you, or you're gonna be fine, or no, you're walking into a haunted house. It wouldn't matter. Nothing was gonna bring him down or bring him up, I suppose, from that like depth of his feelings.
Michelle was in the middle. Like, she had obviously mega meltdowns that we couldn't figure out how to be able to do a handoff or a drop off properly. Like, it was awful, and she'd scream and stuff, and my line I would always say is like, I'll come early, and she would still cry, but not like in the arms of like one of the teachers and like screaming and stuff. And so I feel like talking to them and kind of, you know, it's okay, it's all right, like, don't worry, like, eventually starts working for some kids, I'll say. But I feel like the ones that have the big feelings always just have the big feelings. Like, you can only lessen the big feelings. You can't really just get the big feelings to like go away.
I feel that, Brandon. Like, you're not looking to get rid of those big feelings. You're just trying to help them manage them, right? Like, feel those feelings. You're going to feel those feelings. They're normal to have. Like, let's just find a way for us to manage them and understand what you're feeling and why you're feeling them. It also just takes
time. As they get older, they'll learn to like manage them and realize that being dropped off isn't the end of the world, and that they will come home and all of their favorite stuff will still be there.
But if they're going to be upset about something, you know, there's worse things for them to be kind of upset about. If Michelle or any of the kids, you know, Junior, Rose, if they're crying at like 16 when I'm dropping them off at like high school or something, or they're like, you know, then I'm like, well, then there's something wrong. Like, there's something else
else.
I don't think that Rose and Junior are going to have as hard of a time with the drop-offs like as they get older, because they've had an older sister that's able to help them and like to guide them, and they've also had each other. Like it's kind of really, I can only thinking about it in terms of like Lucy, like the kid, or R. It's like they have to do it, and Michelle, they have to do it like on their own, like and I don't know. I was gonna ask you, Hannah. It's for Elle. Does he have like, how is he for drop offs? Like, is he okay? Like, does he go in with R, or is he separate? He goes in with R, right?
So
they are at the daycare.
So they're like in the same. They're at the same daycare, and then they're just in different rooms, but they go in the same door, and like R will come help me put Elle's stuff away and do that, and then they get dropped off early, they start in the same room together. But Elle had a really hard initial start. I feel like it's a very normal thing for kids to have a hard time at the beginning. So it was about 2 weeks of, okay, mom or dad are gonna pick me up at the end of the day. It took 2 weeks about for that to click, that okay, so every day they will come back to pick me up.
This isn't goodbye forever.
Like when they're 2, they're still figuring that out. And I think it's also when he's 2, the drop off is now so easy because he gets that I'm coming back, and it's just exciting playtime. But I think R and L, so when L was having a really hard time, R was like super empathetic and was like making sure, like he had to make sure that he was putting on a brave face and every day for L, and making sure that he was okay. And it was really sweet. And then once L started having really good drop offs, that's when R had his first bad drop off, and then it lasted for about 4 or 5 months. So once R was kind of seeing that L was doing okay, it's almost like he could breathe and was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a hard time. And we also had a few random days where R got to come home, and we had like special days and stuff, and we noticed that when he had those days, he didn't want to go back. And it's like he got a taste of what could be at home, even though those were special days. And so like we've talked to different people about this, and that consistency is needed for him at this point, for my kid anyway, like having those days. And if you have those days, it's okay to have those special days, but they need to be really talked about in advance. And my kids very much need that, like, this is what's going to happen, this is how we're going to lay it out, and we talk about it a lot. Like, and so yeah, I think having like settled down and then having those special days, R just had a really hard time for like the next few months. And we had fantastic drop-offs for like, it's been like 2 months now. And today I did that again. I forgot to give R that full warning of what exactly was happening today, but forgot to tell him that he'd be going back to daycare.
Oh no.
And so we had a brutal drop off today because I didn't give him warning that was going to happen, because we were so caught up in talking about kindergarten to make sure that went really well, that we forgot to talk about the fact that he wouldn't be coming home afterwards. And it was, I'm so nervous that we've set ourselves back like 2 months of fantastic drop-offs, and I'm nervous that this like had a setback. But I guess we'll see tomorrow, because it's
tough having those days off though, because when the kid was having like his hardest mornings at drop-off, his hardest drop-offs, I did think, well, okay, what if today's just not the day? What if we just call it a day, we go home, we regroup, we try again tomorrow? But every single time that crossed my mind, I kept thinking, no, don't set that like precedent. Don't make him feel like if he, maybe I'm like, I feel like my child's always trying to manipulate me. But like,
no,
don't make him think that if he cries hard enough, I'll just be like, well, whatever, let's just go home. Like, you don't have to go to school today. Like, I would leave the school, I would get back in my car, and I would cry for like 5-10 minutes, because I had like all that parent guilt of like making my kid what felt like a situation of my making. Like, I made him that upset because I wouldn't just let him come home. And then the frustration of, well, why can't you just go through the gate? We were here yesterday, we'll be back here again tomorrow. And then,
that's a normal response. Like I would think that that's like a very, very normal response to feel that way. But everything that you just said, because like I relate so much to just walk in. I don't understand why. Like this is weeks, especially with Michelle. It was like this is months. Like we're here every day. Like it's like 5 days a week. We do this thing. We do this thing. Like where do you think we're going when we get into the car and we're driving in the morning? Like what do you think we're saying when we like
today is going to be the day you don't come back?
Yeah, like it's just like, but it's like a Groundhog Day thing where it's like every day they have the same emotion over and over again, that they're like, I don't want to go, and they cry or they get upset at such a level that you just are like, I think, and it goes into your head, like it's like this little thought and it's really, really small, and then it gets bigger and bigger and you have to like suppress it because your reasoning as a parent just starts becoming, I guess it would just be easier if I just put them back in the car and took them home. I think that would just be an easier way of going about my day, is that, and we'll try again, is such an instinctive thing to have as a parent, but it's also probably the wrong thing to do in this case for a number of reasons, and one of them is then they know that they can eventually get you to take them back home. And I think that as soon as that happens, they think that either, whether it's daycare or school, or they do believe that, okay, there is an option B, and the option B is I can just go home. And then school or daycare doesn't become as important to them because they just think it's an obstacle that they have to overcome in order to just go back home and they can just have fun at home.
Well, I was going to say, Lucy, I also think it's so important to talk about the feelings that you had too, because I don't think that should be taken lightly either. Like, all of our kids have these massive feelings, and they're all normal. A lot of kids have them. They're still understanding what those feelings are for them, but we get back to the car and we also have all of these big feelings that are new to us too. Like we can understand what feelings we're having and what they mean, but these are all new for us too, because we've never experienced a kid screaming at drop off. Like that's a new thing, or like, or it happens again. And you mentioned like having like anxiety, or the like, what if, or like, did I do something wrong? Second guessing your decisions, and this feeling of, I'm doing the right thing. Am I not doing the right thing? And all these massive roller coaster emotions that you're having too, right?
The feeling of handing your kid off while they are hysterical to another adult, and while that other adult, who like professional, like teacher, not just a random adult.
Not just anybody. You're not dropping them off at 7-Eleven.
Are you going into the school here? Can you take my kid too?
Handing your hysterical child off to like a teacher, and that teacher walking away with them while your child looks back at you hysterical, tears all over their face, bright red because they're crying so hard, and you're just standing there like absorbing that feeling. Like it's not just that you're sitting there like observing this, you're feeling it. You feel that like osmosis or something, right? Like it comes, you like absorb all of their emotions and all of their feelings, and then, but like we're adults and we don't want to get upset in public. So then you go back, you go back to your car, you go back to your house or whatever, and then it's just like, oh my gosh, like I just,
when I drop them off, and if it is a bad drop off and they're all screaming, like or one of them is screaming or whatever, and daddy, and they're like through the gate and they're like, hanging onto the bars or whatever. It's like you're dropping off at prison or something. Like it's like they're just like, no, don't leave me. But it's that walk of when I have to turn, because I now know that they're safe. It's that like 30-second walk, not even 30 seconds, probably like a 15-second walk from like the gate to wherever I'm parked, is such a weird walk, because I'm both going, have I made the right decision? Of course I made the right decision. They have to go to school. I'm also relieved that we got them into the gate. So now it's like, great, the day is what it is, and they are going to eventually be okay, and then they're going to have a really fun day at school. But you don't know what to do. So I end up just like walking almost like a stoic robot. Like it's just like, like I'm just like completely stoic, and I'm like, don't show any emotion, don't do it. But then I just look like the coldest, most no remorse dad or parent. There's like kids screaming, "Ah, Daddy, no, don't leave!" And I'm just like, just stay focused, just stay focused, and it's, but it is, but
don't have an expression.
Don't look back.
Yeah, you can't look back, because as soon as you look, it's like I don't care, but it's actually like the opposite. It's like if I turn around and I see them and they make eye contact, then I'm going to run back to the gate, because I've done it. I then go back to the gate and I try to comfort them through the bars, and it's like, don't worry, it's okay.
Right?
Like, but then I'm stuck. But then I got to do the goodbye again, so that's even worse for them, because now they got to do 2 goodbyes. I've got to do 2 goodbyes. So then it just becomes this massive production of just like, am I just now becoming a teacher here, and I'll just like hop the fence and I'll just like stay with it? Like that type of stuff is just very confusing for me. Like I just don't know sometimes how to deal with that. Like, and I don't know, so I just kind of try to like suppress it all, which is weird, because it's like kind of what instinctually you're asking your kid to do, is like, you know, just, I know you're scared, but just go in anyways. But it's like they don't know how to deal with those feelings, so they just like let it all out. And I would also like to be like, yeah, I'd love for you to stay, but
I can imagine it's extra heightened for you. Like I find if so like because I went back and Elle didn't know I was going back and he saw me, he had a hard time because R did, right? And so like it's one thing to have one kid doing it at you, but having 2 at the same time, it can be really overwhelming and intense. And I can't imagine what it is if you have 3 doing it. Like if you have, I don't know if all 3 have hard drop-offs, or if it's, you know.
It's like a 50-50 chance that one of them is going to not be great, but it's usually not all 3. And I think that just might be because it's just like, it's a group of them at that point. It's a group of them that are being dropped off. And Rose has the easiest time. Rose has very few days where she's at least not, she may not be happy, like she may not be excited to walk in, but she walks in on her own. She doesn't really have to be picked up. And Michelle, really her only bad drop-offs now are when the twins are like staying home because they're not feeling well. Like that's when she's like,
right.
That's when it doesn't work for her, where she's just like, well, if they're not feeling well, why do I have to go to, like, I don't want to go to school if they're going to get to stay here. It's like, well, but they're sick,
There's
Michelle.
an option
like,
B.
Yeah, but she's like, well, why
B.
can I just, I think she's done it a couple of times where she's asked like, well, can I stay home and take care of them too? And you're just like, that is so sweet. But I also know you're trying to get out of school. Like it's
but
like,
also no.
Yeah. And Brandon, that's that's where I really, really struggle is I feel like as adults, maybe it's because we're always suppressing our emotions all the time, but I feel like, you know, we take mental health days. Like there are days that we're like, I need a day. Like I can't, whatever feeling, right? I'm having these really hard days that I struggle with the like, well, why shouldn't they also?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
And like,
yes,
and that's where I was making that mistake with R, because I was like, well, you know, maybe you just need a mental health day. But I think for my kids anyway, is that I think they needed me to have that structure for them. And that's where I kind of let go a little bit, where I was like, okay, you need a mental health day, just come home and we'll do this and this and this. And that's why we had such a hard time, because I let him do that sometimes. And I do think it's important to have those days. But I think for my kids right now, because they really crave that structure, and for me to be in charge, not them to be in charge, they need me to guide them in this scenario. That if I can plan it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be a plan, you know, if I could plan a special day where we do something and it's worked out and talked about in advance, and then we can go back to the regular day, then we can do that. But I really struggled with, if I can take a mental health day, why can't you? And they just don't need that from me. They need structure from me, and they need consistency, and they need me to take control.
We've given the kid those days, like the not really a mental health day, but like a random day off school. And we've planned it ahead of time, and we just tell them that it's a PA day.
That's a good way around it.
Amazing. But see, that's a great way for you to have like an extra family day. And it's a special day without it being like it's worked in advance. Like,
yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
But then, but then he also does this thing where, he's like missed a half day of school because doctor's appointments or whatever, and he's looking forward to it, and he's happy that he doesn't have to be at school. And then we pick him up, and he gets in the car, and he's like, "I wonder what they're doing at school." I wonder what they're going to do this afternoon.
What am I missing out at?
I'm going to miss some stuff this afternoon. And
like, that would make me feel so good. Like, if my kid was at home being like, I wonder, I miss this. Like, that's also a good sign to be like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. Like, these hard drop-offs are paying off because, like, they're thinking about, I'm missing out, you know?
So I wanted to ask, okay, so when do your mornings start and how fast can you get them out? Like, what's your record of getting somebody one of your kids out the door in order to be able to drop them off? Because I'm telling you, my record is probably slower than all of yours.
Can I just say that all through the summer, the kid was waking up at like 8 a.m. And today and yesterday, 7 on the nose. He's out that door.
Oh, I have no sympathy for you. If you got a week of 8 a.m. wake ups, then no, you got no sympathy from me. So I'm just saying our mornings, I know for today they got up early. They were up at like, I mean, it's early for us, Hannah, so I'm really sorry for but I could hear them up, like, in their room. So they're all waking up at the same time, just because they're all waking themselves up. And Junior's the first one always to wake up. But he's been pretty good about, like, he's just kind of sitting there. Like, he's just waiting for, like, his two sisters to kind of wake up and stuff. But today I could hear them at 6:30 and then 6:40. And I could just hear, like, the door open. And then, like, they go into the other room, and I'm hearing them move things, and I'm like, oh, my God, we're starting so early today. Because 7 a.m. is, like, I'll get up at 7 a.m. Melissa will get up, like, a couple of minutes later. Like, then let's start the thing. Let's do breakfast. Let's do the whole routine. But 6:45 in the morning, they got up. I started making them breakfast. And, like, we still, with an extra 15 minutes, still, like, come on, get in the van. Just get in the van. Like, pile it. Like, where's your bag? Junior never knows where his bag is. Where's your backpack? Rose has hers on, but she's, like, decided that she wants to walk to school. So she's, like, walking down the street. And you're just like, no.
I can totally see her doing that.
Oh, God. It's just, Rose, get back here. Get back up the drive. Like,
she's like, I'm getting out of here. You guys are crazy.
Yeah. I'm not getting in that van. Are you kidding me? It's wild.
And is Melissa already out the door by this point?
Melissa, like, if she has to go into Toronto, what she's been really good about is that she'll do most of the morning with me. But then, yeah, she's usually gone by this point. So then it's just me with 3 kids. It's like herding cats and stuff. But when she's working from home for the day, then she does drop off with me, unless she has like a really early meeting for whatever reason. But like, and sometimes she does, but she will help me in the morning and she will be a part of the entire thing. But I mean, today, anyways, getting the kids from the front door. No, it's the whole thing. Getting them dressed, getting them to finish breakfast, getting them to eat breakfast. Sometimes they don't even eat it. Like, they're just like, today they asked for beans. I'm like, great. And I made like a pot of beans, like, just blah, blah. You throw it in, you get it. It's all ready. There you go. Here's all your bowls. Nobody wants them. Oh, no, I don't want them anymore.
Oh,
no,
my God, I hate that.
No, I don't want beans anymore. And you're just like, what are you talking about? You just asked for beans. And it didn't take me like 5 hours to make these beans. Like, I didn't make them from scratch. I don't even know how you make beans from scratch.
But
anyways,
they look at you like, why on earth did you make me this meal?
With so much attitude. Why are they so...
The mental image of your 3 children sitting at your table and you serving them beans only for them to look at you like, how dare you serve me beans? Beans? Like, it's like, it's like that Cards Against Humanity card that says bees. It's like that. It's like beans. It's like, why would you? I don't. The only one that touched them was Rose, and she ate them with the spoon. Ate them with a spoon, but she was using the wrong end of the spoon, so she was getting all frustrated that she couldn't eat it properly because she's trying to stick the other. And I'm like, that's not how you eat beans. So, anyways, this is not like this was like one of my funny. No, this is like every morning. It's like they all want something different for breakfast. They all want they all want to get dressed at different times. Sometimes they don't want to wash their hands. Anyways, it's an absolute. It's the most stressful hour of my day is between 7 a.m. between when they wake up and between getting them out the door.
So yours 7 till 8. Like, that's your, like, they're up at 7. You're out the door at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, and it's pretty much a schedule that we've done because when I was working, it would just give us enough time that we could both get home, and we're back home by 8:45. Then we have 15 minutes to we can make a coffee or make a tea or have breakfast ourselves and stuff. And it's a holdover basically from when I also was working, is that my shift would start at 9 a.m.
Yeah, ours is very similar. Our Elle gets up super early, but today was asleep, and he was asleep until 6:30, which
Both
is
of you.
so huge. Oh my gosh, I was so
Round
excited.
of applause.
Yeah, so 6:30 he gets up, and Corey and I alternate getting up early with him, and then the other one stays sleeping with R. So Elle and an adult get up and have playtime. We usually make coffee, and sometimes Elle's starving first thing in the morning, and they make breakfast for them sometimes, and then we go and wake up R and the other parent, and it's like Elle crawls into bed, goes wakey wakey, which is like his thing, and it's really cute, but it's awful. And he walks into your bed and he goes wakey wakey, and then we usually try to get out the door at 7:45, so it's 45 minutes to eat breakfast for both of them. Usually Elle already has, but eat breakfast, sometimes breakfast number 2 for Elle, and then get dressed, wash up, all that stuff, shoes on, backpacks in the car, and out the door at 7:45. And it's usually just this constant of okay, what's next? Okay, take your clothes off. Okay, your clothes are off. Okay, those go in the hamper. Okay, in the hamper. Okay, and it's just this repetitive on and on. Okay, what's the next thing you got to do? Okay, underwear. No, you can't put your shorts on before your underwear. You got to get your underwear on. Take your shorts off. Let's get the underwear on first. You have done this every single day for the last 5 years. Let's go. And
you really
so
got to micromanage them.
You do. And they do it all themselves. Sometimes if we're really pressed for time, I'll help them and just get them dressed because we just got to get out the door. But yeah, it's just chaos of you put that there and you put that there. You get underwear on first, and all right, you did your socks first. That's fine as long as it's not your shorts first. And where's your hat? Kate, you got your hat, got your backpack. Lunches are packed. Who's carrying it to the car today? Because God forbid, if you carry the lunch bag to the car on the day that R wants to, we got to start all over again. Lunch bag goes back into the house, and then R
everybody
goes and
back in their beds.
Back
everybody
into the house,
back
and let's start this all over again.
Wakey, and it's just oh God, we can't do it. This is...
Take 3, and then we are out the house hopefully by 7:45, and our daycare is only 5 minutes away, so we are at daycare by 8:00. Do the drop off, come home, and then try to have a shower, a coffee, whatever. I try to get doing stuff right at 8:00, and Corey starts work at 8:30. So that's our chaos. So
that's okay. I feel a little better because you were describing it, I was starting to get a little tight in my chest because I was just oh, this sounds like a lot. And I was no, that's just you're just thinking that you have to do the morning again today, and I don't. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's chaos, but it's like a routine now. At least it's a routine chaos. So
I said to the kid this morning, all summer you didn't get up before 8. Why now? The last 2 days you've been up at 7. And he says, I don't want to be late for school. And I said, you could wake up at 8:30 and we still wouldn't be late for school.
But does he know that? Okay, then just, I like that he's excited for school. That's nice. That's a change of pace, but that's
it's so fickle. It's one question and it's I hate school. I never want to go to school. School's the worst. Did you know what they do to us there? They make us work. And then sometimes it's school's the best. I got to play with my friends and learn stuff. And learning's fun.
But does he pick this up from you? Are you a family that you are always early to things? Are you always late? Are you always on time? Are you guys those people?
I no. I think we're pretty inconsistent.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
Just all over.
Okay, that's fine. That's good.
It depends. It depends on what it is. It depends on the event.
I am always early. I love to be early. At the very latest, I am on time. And so today I was late for our first day of kindergarten, the meet thing. And we're I'm super stressed. I'm we got to go. We're running late. And I'm carrying R to the car. And then we're driving and R just in the back seat is it's okay, Mommy. We're doing okay. Oh my God, my kid's reassuring me. I hope he doesn't pick this up from me. So that was my question of is your kid being I I can't be late because he picks up on that from you guys, or not so much.
So when he was having like the really hard drop-offs, one of the things that we kept like, we can't be late, you're gonna be late, don't be late, you can't be late. So maybe that's where he's getting it from.
Yeah. I have a real quirky little first day of school story, actually, that I just remembered. So my very first day of kindergarten, way back when, my mom worked at the school, and so she came with us, and she put my brothers in charge of me. Bad mistake. But that's your first mistake right there. I remember, like, I'm 4 or 5 years old, and we were running late, so my mom sent me with breakfast, and so I had my toast with marmalade. And maybe why I don't like marmalade now.
That's your first mistake, using marmalade.
Using marmalade. That was my first mistake.
Set you off on a bad trajectory that day.
So for the first mistake was the marmalade. Second mistake was putting my brothers in charge. And they were in charge, and my mom said, make sure you bring Hannah to her kindergarten class. And so 2 of them in charge, and they just both ditched. And they left me, and I was sitting on a bench on my first day of kindergarten with this toast and marmalade, and I just burst into tears. I didn't know where my brothers went because they went to see their friends. You know, one probably thought the other one was taking care of me, and the other one thought the same about the other. And I just sat there with my toast and marmalade crying on a bench until somebody came in, until a teacher opened the door and was like, well, there's a little person out here that probably needs to go to school now.
How drop-offs have changed.
Right.
Basically how that works. It's like,
Yeah.
So I don't have a specific like drop-off story, but my mom always talks about how the first week of school was always during like the Toronto International Film Festival, which she went to every year. So the first week of school, I was just on my own because my dad worked and she would go to TIFF. And I was just like, okay.
Just on your own.
It was like, summer's over. I'm done. You're going to school.
Yeah,
I don't care how you get there.
You're going, and I'm watching a bunch of movies. That's
You don't
the
have
end
to
of-
stay.
She'd always pick a morning movie. So like, I think that she would drop me off and then just be like, see ya. And then like,
Oh my
Amazing.
God. That's the only real memory I have of a drop off is actually my first time, at least I think it was my first time being dropped off at like daycare. And I just have the image, it's still in my head, of what the daycare looked like, walking in. My dad is the one that did the drop off, or at least that's what I can remember. I'm being handed off. I'm crying. I'm like losing my mind, and I'm crying, trying to crawl over the person's, like the teacher or the daycare, the person that's there. And the only image I have is him just walking down the hallway, like the long hallway in the morning, and he just like opens up that door and he just walks by and he never looks back at me. And he's just, and it was in
that's where you got it from.
Yes, and it was in the 90s. It was in the 90s, early 90s. So he's wearing like a long, like those long trench coat. You remember when those were in style? So it's like, it's even like, it's like the beginning of a movie of just like, and then I never saw my dad again and I was an orphan. Like it was like this
And this
like,
is why you went into film.
Yeah.
You just had a movie set from the very beginning.
From the very beginning, one of my earliest memories of just my dad. My dad did come back later that day and picked me up, or my mom. Like it's like.
Thank you for clarifying that piece of information.
I didn't want to say that was, and that was the last time that I saw my father. Anyways, thank you for joining us on the Stay at Home Spot.
We have both talked about our days. You said that you could be up at 8:30 and be at school. How do you do your mornings?
Yeah, take us home, Lucy. Tell us how to do mornings, because
It's just it used to be more difficult. I don't know. I'm terrible in the morning. I don't want to deal with anybody or talk to anything. Like, I don't want to.
Not a morning person.
Mornings are just like, and he's so chatty, and I'm just like, please stop talking. I love you so much, but I need you to just be quiet for like 10 minutes. Anyway, he eats the same thing for breakfast every morning. I make the same lunch for him every day. He is a child who thrives on routine. He doesn't care what he wears. I could put him in a paper bag, and other than probably getting some calls from the school, he doesn't care that he's wearing a paper bag.
Ma'am,
it's
do you
just-
know that your son is I know what he's wearing.
Oh,
And,
I fully
I-
aware. In fact, I put
picked
him in it.
I picked it. I sized it for him.
Yeah,
I cut out
yeah.
the holes for his arms, so like you
Yep,
can just
in his
all right.
eyes, because it's over his head. Like
Oh, that's not what I was in.
it's like a ghost costume.
Brandon and I are picturing like a head from here down, and you're like, and then your kid's just got a paper bag over his head.
Why does he look like one of the ghosts from Pac-Man? Like what
We
is
still struggle with like the logic and the reasoning sometimes, and the anxiety levels in him are high. But I don't know. It's just okay. We go to school now. He's come to accept his fate.
He seems hyper aware. Like he seems very, very hyper aware of his surroundings and what has to be done today and what's going to happen. Like just the fact that you had said that he had been waking up at 8, but then for his first day of school, he wakes up at 7. It's because his mind is hyper aware that he has to go to school. So then,
Yeah. It's like when you have something big the next day and you like wake up every hour on the hour being like, how much time do I have left to sleep? It's like that.
Fantastic internal clock, apparently.
Someone was like, how do you get a kid like that? And I was like, I don't know.
I don't think you get to
care.
pick and choose those things.
Like even when I was pregnant, people would be like, so what are your plans? What kind of parent are you going to be? What's your birth plan? And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm going to deal with it when I need to deal with it.
it's an impossible question to answer
Yes.
accurately because you just have absolutely no clue how it's going to go. Because even kids, like you're saying for your kid, Lucy, he's like a little adult. It's like, but you would think that would mean that his drop-offs would be okay, but instead it's like he's so aware, he's got all this anxiety because he understands what's actually happening. So it's like it ends up being like, well, how do you deal with it? Like, how would you deal with it? I don't know how you deal with drop-off. Okay, so then I don't know what kind of parent I'm going to be, but I'm going to try to do it the best I can, and I'm going to try
someone-
to.
that's-
Someone once said like, when someone asks me what kind of parent I want to be, I always say like the kind of parent my kid needs.
Yes. I
And
love
it's-
that.
And it's so, but it's like even individual on an individual basis. Like if either of you called me and said like, "Oh, drop off was so hard today. Like this is what they did. How would you deal with it?" I'd be like, I don't know, because it's such
because
an
you don't-
individual thing
Yeah.
like from kid to kid and from parent to parent and from personality to personality. That like it's
I don't think any of us could drop off not just only each other's kids, but like anybody else's kids.
Yeah.
Like, it's just such a unique situation in order to have to do a drop off and to have to like say goodbye to your kids for the day and also do a pickup. But to really say goodbye to them is for the day, obviously. It's really, really, it's a process. It's a constant evolution of figuring out how to be able to do it because it changes every day, and it's really, really difficult also to like compare your kids to other kids as they're
Yeah.
being dropped off, because it's an impossible situation that you just don't come out of. Oh, my kid doesn't cry. You know, my kid just walks right in and it's fine. And then you start going, yeah, but why does he just walk fine? Is it because that he's happier at school than like this person? Like, why is this kid wanting to go back home, but my kid doesn't want to go? Like, you can play those games with your own mind that
Yes.
it's like you drop off your kid, you figure out the best way to be able to do that as best as you can, and then you pick them up at the end of the day, and hopefully they're happy to see you, because if they're happy to see you, that's usually one of my favorite times of the day, is like
Yeah.
when I pull
my
up and when they're all there, and you know, definitely Michelle, just the way that the school is set up, where the parking is, it's like I get out, and then she knows what obviously our vehicles look like, so she sees me pull in, and then it's just Daddy, and it's like
love that.
I pick her up, and we go around the side, and we go to where her brother and her sister are. And they're in there, and it's just Daddy, 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 and they're all excited, and it's just like it's a highlight of my day. So it's like the beginning of the day is really tough, but then the end of the day, it's like you get that really cool, like, they're so happy to come home, you know.
It's such a good feeling.
that it is a good feeling. It's also interesting that you talk about like the kid to kid, and like you can't imagine doing it with other kids, because I even find like with the kid that if I do drop off, I get a completely different reaction than like Sterling doing drop off by himself. It changes based on like, I don't know if you guys find that with your kids as well, but like I find that he can be way more challenging with just me than Sterling doesn't have as hard a time, and like when we're both together, it's definitely not as difficult, as challenging as like when
Really?
it's just me. Yeah.
It's interesting. Hannah, do you have Like, is it like depending if you and Corey are dropping them off together, or if it's just you? Do you find it different, or just him? Like, if he just has to do drop off on his own, like, is it different between that?
He gets the same stuff. And I feel like there was a time, like, this is probably a whole other episode with the parental preferences, where like we've had times of like, you know, R said like, I don't want mommy to do drop off today, I want daddy to, but daddy's got a call so he can't do it, or, you know, vice versa. And so we've had stuff like that, but the actual drop off is pretty much exactly the same for both of us.
Do you ever have that, Brandon?
It's easier when it's both of us, but that's more of a logistic thing because there's just 3 of them, and I'm just
and you only have 2 hands,
and they all want to hold my hand to walk up to the gate. So then we have to do a line, so somebody doesn't get to hold my hand, and most of the time it's Michelle. She's on the end, but then she's going, but I want to hold both of their hands. Basically, what happens every morning is if it's just me, we're doing like we're doing.
You move as a circle, as like a group.
I'm like, all right. So who's walking?
It.
So I'm walking backwards through a parking lot with my kids in a circle, and it's just like,
this is why you show up at 8:15, because it takes you half an hour just to get to the gate because you're walking in circles.
Sorry, now I'm just imagining it being a circle, and I'm just like, that's not a bad solution if I'm the only one in the parking lot, but I'm never the only one in the parking lot. My experience is that logistically it's easier when it's both of us because it's just more kids, but on terms of an emotional level, I think it varies. It varies. I think that they do well with me because they see me every day and they get to see me all the time. Like I'm here in the morning, I'm here in the afternoon. Like it's like I'm here to pick up. It's very rare that I'm not. It's very rare that I'm not here. And Melissa has just a schedule that sometimes she is here in the morning, she's here in the afternoon, and then sometimes she's not here, and sometimes she might not be here for a couple of days. They don't get to see her because she's working such long hours. So I think it's all dependent on, I think, what her schedule is like, and if they haven't seen her in a couple of days, or even if they just didn't see her that morning, then it's the next drop off is like a little bit more chaotic because it's like mommy's here and we get to go with mommy and I want to do this. Like they just get a little bit more excited. So the consistency helps, but definitely it pretty much it varies. It just varies.
But I didn't mean to. I don't really know if we should reel it back to this. But I Lucy, when you said that, it just has really stuck with me. When you said that, what kind of parent do you want to be? And I want to be the
kind of parent that my kid needs.
Yeah, I want to be the kind of parent that my kid needs. That is like so amazing. Like I just feel that to the core because every kid is so different, and every parent is so different, and every experience for every parent and kid is so different and so wonderful. And I feel like that's really what our podcast is about. And I just love that you said that because I feel it. I feel it so hard, and I love that. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. If you want to chat with us, slide into our DMs, leave a comment, or email us at thestayathomespodcast@gmail.com. Bye!